Well, g'day viewers. Warren Pro here from What's Up Down Under, and we're actually here today to talk about careers and jobs in the caravan industry. We created a platform last year called Caravan Industry Jobs, which we do in conjunction with the Caravan Industry Association of Victoria. And I'm here with Daniel Sarberg, who is the, what's your role at the association, Dan?
Oh, they call me the jack of all trades, I think, Warren. But my main role is the general manager of operations at the association. So I've sort of looking after our events team now, but also our training, which fits under this with careers and jobs, and industry development activities as well.
Beautiful. So we've also got some other fantastic panellists here today to tune in and talk with us. We've invited Stephen Wright, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Big Four Holiday Parks Australia. How are you?
Good, thank you. Looking forward to the discussion.
No worries, mate. Thanks for coming on board. I've got Tilly Rex. How do I pronounce your last name? Tilly, is it Rex Peppy?
Well, I guess the Anglo version of it would be Rexepi. If you want to learn a little bit of Albanian, Regepi is the way to say it.
You're here to represent the manufacturing sector today. Welcome aboard, mate.
Just like Daniel, I'm the jack of all trades, master of absolutely none of them.
Beautiful to see. I've got Robert Brewery. Now, you're the general manager out of Bayswater Jaco. Rob, thanks for joining us today, mate.
Good morning, everybody.
And Rob's going to help us out with a lot of telling us a little bit about dealerships and servicing and those kinds of things. And we've also got Lisa Georgakis. Did I get that right, Lisa?
Yes, Georgakis.
Georgakis.
Yes.
All right. He's the market manager of Thetford Australia. Thanks very much for joining us today. I guess part of the reason why we're here is that most people don't wake up and say, I'm going to have a career in the caravan industry as a kid. And I guess part of what we want to try and encourage people to understand is that the caravan industry is very diverse. It has a lot of different roles. It's more than just manufacturing. It's more than just the selling of caravans at a yard. It's more than holiday parks right around Australia, which I think there's about 2,700 odd holiday parks around Australia all up. And it also, and obviously then there's the suppliers, which Lisa's here to help us represent, who obviously supply the fantastic products, not just for the caravans when they get built, but also aftermarket from a retail perspective. So there's a whole bunch going on. This is about trying to, I guess, encourage newcomers and fresh blood into the industry and getting a new set of ideas and into the industry so that we can do more as we go along. So, Daniel, you obviously work pretty broadly across the industry, and you get to speak to pretty much everyone. You've got members from all sectors. Just explain a little bit about the diversity of careers in the industry.
Yeah, thanks, Warren. Obviously, our industry is quite a unique one, and sort of how I've summarised it in the past is you think about the car industry, which has obviously been known in Australia and how big it was, and particularly around the manufacturing. But what we also have as attached to that, we've obviously got Steve here to represent Big Four caravan parks, is we've got the tourism and the park side as well. So we're a very diverse range, and there's plenty of opportunities. And in each sector and how we're sort of split up, we've got suppliers, which Lisa sits in. We've got the manufacturers, which Tilly obviously is from and where I started. You've got then the retailers, which we call dealers that sell the products, but you've also got the retailers that sell the parts and accessories, and dealers do that as well. And then you've got the servicing and repairing, which some dealers do, but you've got specialised service and repairers, particularly in regional locations where you're really isolated. And then you've got the caravan parks, which is just an amazing and huge piece of the puzzle as well. And I guess as a part of that, Warren, there's so many different jobs in each of those sectors. So from a career point of view, what we sort of describe it as from a career pathway, you might start in one sector, and Lisa's in marketing and in the supplier space, but you can move across into different sectors from a marketing point of view. You've got design, R&D that can shift across different sectors as well. So anything you can think of, you can pretty much be in our industry.
Well, just on that point, in Stephen's case, I know that you've had a very diverse and colourful career over the years, and
colourful. It's always a bit defamatory, isn't it? Colourful.
So I meant it in the most positive way. But you've actually done a lot of different roles. Can you explain a little bit about your history and how you ended up working in the caravan industry, Steve?
Yeah. Well, I started off actually as a lawyer, working commercial law and sport. I had a passion for sport, a passion for activity and outdoor engagement. And after 9 years of working as a in-house lawyer at one of the major law firms, I moved to Australian Grand Prix Corporation and became in-house counsel or legal counsel for the Australian Grand Prix, which ran both the motorcycle Grand Prix at Phillip Island and the Formula One Grand Prix at Albert Park. I was there for 7 years, and along the way sort of morphed out of law into management and then ultimately to chief executive. And I was CEO there for a few years. I think over the journey, I did 15 Grands Prix, being, I think it was 8 cars and 7 bikes or something similar to that. So after that, actually, I decided when, after that time, it was time for it to change. And I looked at go out on my own to set up a tourism sort of backpacking business was the aim to really almost build a franchise model for backpackers. I didn't have at that stage any real structure and quality backpacking. But shortly thereafter, Richmond Football Club came along, and as a lifelong supporter, and I ended up going to Richmond, and I was chief executive there from end of 2004 to 2009, and we sort of restructured the club. We rebuilt Punt Road Oval to what it is now. Got the club back financially solvent, making money, and we put Damien Hardwick in as coach. And sort of when we done that, the team and I felt it was time for a change, so I moved to Queensland and to do some consulting work. I ended up at the Brisbane Lions for a year there on an interim contract as interim CEO, and then started the move more out into tourism. And after there, I moved to Events Queensland as a consultant for 6 months, and then became chief executive of the new merged Tourism and Events Queensland. Mm-hmm. And did that for a while. Probably wasn't the ideal job for me. It was it's a political organisation, and then it was very political at the time. So after about 12, 15 months, I decided it wasn't the right role and came back to Melbourne. I had a young family, so I took a year off to be a stay-at-home dad before we all were locked down. This was many years ago. And then after 12 months, Big Four came along. And to me, it was a good opportunity because it merged the franchise, which is legal. It merged the tourism, which is what I'd done. It brought in also the membership platforms and the digital branding and marketing that I'd done through the football environment, as well as having a member database. So to me, it wasn't necessarily the caravan industry per se. It was the fact that it was an industry that brought all these different elements together and let me really use the skills that I'd learned at every one of my jobs over the journey for a new industry.
Well, I've found probably something similar. Like I actually started off in newspapers. I always wanted to get into television, but I kind of went the long way around, if you like. And it wasn't, as my father once said to me, it's not where you start, it's where you finish up. And somehow I ended up where I wanted to start. So I think that, and again, a lot of people say you're passionate about Caravan. You know, I am. I'm passionate about the people within it. I can't say I'm necessarily personally a mad passionate Caravan. I do like to get out there with the family. But I really like the bits of jigsaw puzzle we put together from a media perspective.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's a really complex industry. People come in and think, "Oh, caravanning must be pretty, easy." This is as complex as an industry as there is going around, particularly with the amount of disruption that's happening to us over the last 10 years through, even holiday parks have disrupted themselves when they moved away from caravans into cabins and roofed accommodation. And now, we're competing against the Mantras and the Quests and the Best Westerns and all the regional accommodation. So
they have tried to step up against you too, haven't they? I think they've realised you've really snagged the family market.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and when we speak to most of those groups, our systems and data management and understanding of our customers and markets actually ahead of theirs. So
what is the diversity of careers within the holiday park realm, Stephen? Obviously, you've got head office there. You've got quite a few people there who do a range of different roles, but then you've got the parks themselves.
Yeah, it's changed. I mean, if you look at the history of parks, so it used to be largely family-run businesses over the years, but more and more now they've become corporatized. I mean, look at Discovery, which is owned by Sun Super. They own 75 of their own parks. NRMA own over 40 parks. Ingenia own 25 parks. Mm-hmm. So you have all those commercial organizations coming in. They then bring a whole different model. They bring a whole distribution platform. They bring a marketing model. They bring revenue management in. They bring finance. They bring, all the different elements, operations. So really now our industry, whether it's at a brand level or whether it's with us, and we're very much focused on data and digital. I mean, we're just employing data scientists at the moment. Mm-hmm. We're looking at some new distribution platforms. We just built a whole new website. Now, 10 years ago, none of that would have been relevant to our industry. So we have more, I mean, we're a marketing brand per se. We have more people, and we have about 15 people in marketing in our organisation out of 25. And we have 5, what I call BDMs or field managers, and the others are just sort of the administration finance team.
I guess you kind of need them nowadays too, because let's face it, it's not like the good old days there were 5 media types and all that kind of thing. You've got to
we also have, because of the way we work, we have all the reservation data of all our parks, so we can then analyse that to find best performance for the new, which customers are the right customers to target, when should we target them, how often do they travel. We've got 400,000 people in our membership program. That's a larger program as most commercial entities in Australia would have, other than the super companies. So from that viewpoint, there is so much opportunity that's got nothing actually to do with the caravan park itself, if that makes sense. But then obviously when you get into operations of a park, you can have a park that's got 3 or 4 staff, usually the owners, and a couple of casuals, through to our bigger parks at peak time have through to our bigger parks at Christmas time, they might have 80 or 90 staff.
Yeah, and that's everything from managers to groundkeepers to cleaners to...
Yeah, and a lot of them have do their own local area marketing. In a sense, they look after their own customer database, talk to them, they, market to their own drive areas. They then do, their own revenue management through pricing, because we don't do price, so parks have to manage their own pricing situations. And you're moving away from, 1 or 2 prices a year through to 10 prices a day. And through online distribution, pricing changes.
I guess you've got all the peripheral jobs then of people like you've got booking systems, you've got suppliers to those parks, you've got all the different pieces that need to make that up. It's quite diverse and far stretching, isn't it? So.
Absolutely, and even things like insurance, which a little bit outside what you think, but insurance is becoming much more boutique for parks, because of now you've got water parks, you've got swimming pools, you've got pump tracks, all these new things coming to parks that weren't there before. So you've got people in the insurance industry who are specialising now in holiday parks. So if you think of hotels, where almost anything now that the hotel industry would have employed, we're now employing, plus we're probably employing more in the diversity of role because of the type of business we are.
So I guess for the people out there viewing, if they're sitting there and watching, they're thinking about holiday parks and caravan parks, so they're not just mum-and-dad businesses with a small handful of locals up and down.
Well, the 3 jobs we're looking at the moment advertising are a web editor for the website. We've got a data scientist and a digital marketer.
The data scientist. I can't say I've heard of that role before, but I'm going to look.
Yeah, they're incredibly hard to get because there's so much in demand. And what a data scientist does is basically the one who looks at your data and digs through it and finds the key insights for how to improve your sales or improve your performance. So, and they're in high demand.
So, Lisa, just because we were talking a little bit about data science and marketing and those kinds of things. So, Thetford isn't just an Australian company. You guys have international reaches, don't you? So, tell us a little bit about Thetford as a business and the sort of roles within it and how that stretches all the way overseas.
Yep. It is quite a big global company, Thetford. So, obviously, we have Australia, and within Australia, we're a subsidiary. And we've got roles from customer service and warranty to warehousing and logistics, obviously marketing, and the internal sales. And we've also got our field sales reps as well on the road, servicing the aftermarket and OEMs. Our head office out in Netherlands is quite extensive. There's roles from chemical engineers to product managers to marketing to finance, IT. We've got finance here as well. There's quite a lot, quite a lot of roles. Obviously, because we do, create a lot of our own products in the laboratory. So a lot of engineers, no data. What was it called? Data scientists yet, but but pretty much everything else.
So, did you wake up one day and said, "I'm going to end up working in the caravan industry," or how did you find your way here?
No, definitely not. I've always loved travel and leisure, and going out and drives and things like that. That's probably about as much as I thought about the caravan industry. I got a job at the local Telstra shop there while I was studying, and someone actually that worked at Telstra as a sales manager. I sold a phone, and they said, "Would you be interested in coming to work at head office?"
Head office.
So I ended up after I'd finished studying, was still there, and kind of started off in account management and sales, corporate sales. So it was B2B. And then it was a variety of roles, and I was always passionate, obviously, about marketing. So that's what I studied, and dabbled a bit of marketing until I just kind of started focusing on marketing roles. And from there, I went into insurance. Obviously, did a bit of traveling in between because I was, wanting to travel and see the world. So there's the caravan industry. And fell into, I guess not really. I've done a lot of different industries, but I was always open to, anything to do with travel and leisure. So, yeah.
So how have you found it? Because you've been here for, I think, for around a year now. How have you found it in comparison to some of the industries that you've worked in?
I really enjoy it. I mean, obviously, I started at a pretty bad time. So I've been 10 months, and I got to do 2 whole shows. I did really enjoy that. So, and I love the people were great. Got a great team here in Thetford, Australia, and we talk regularly with overseas out in the Netherlands. And everyone that I've met in the industry, I just find everyone's quite friendly, and it's quite a sociable industry. So I actually really enjoy it, and I'm hoping that next year I get to do all the shows.
I think we'd all like to do all the shows next.
Yes.
Bring them back.
Yeah.
So yeah. So thank you for that, Rob. You've been around the traps for a long time. You're out at Bayswater Jayco as a general manager. Did you start in caravanning, or did you start somewhere else?
I actually started in a family caravanning business many years ago.
Which was
Camperland. We sold sun wagons and expander vans and cabanas and all sorts of tricky things. Had a site in, I think it was 3 sites in Melbourne and 1 in Sydney. I moved to Sydney for a short time, returned to Melbourne, and about what would be the late 70s, early 80s, the caravan trade went into a bit of decline. And Peter McKenzie, who was a stalwart of the industry, recommended and I go into the car industry. Because the car industry, I was only working 6 days a week, and the caravan industry was working 7 days a week. And I thought, as a 21, 22-year-old bloke, that's fabulous. I'll have a day off. So I ended up in the car industry for about 25 years and moved from a salesperson all the way through ultimately being general manager, dealer principal of a number of dealerships. And about 8 years ago, I had a longing to go back to the caravan industry. And my father was speaking to Kevin Clark, who's one of the owners of Bayswater Jayco.
And ex-president of the caravan industry.
Ex-president of the caravan industry and well known around the traps. And took about 2 years for us to get together and talk to each other. And he offered me a position as the general manager of Bayswater Jayco. And I basically told him he couldn't afford me. And he actually agreed he couldn't. And we came to an agreement, and look, that's fabulous.
You're probably one of the biggest dealerships in Australia. How many staff would you have out at Bayswater Jayco?
At this current time, 44.
44, but they're not all just salespeople, are they?
No. We've got it's actually broken. We've actually got 6 in sales, 8 in admin. We've got 8 cleaners, 15 techs, 3 in parts. We employ some part-time people as well. Yeah. The dealerships that when we first started, you're lucky to have 3 people there. You'd wash a caravan, you'd hand it over, you'd tow it yourself, you'd do everything. But now we've got people doing things that we never thought they'd do before.
And you've got one of my young fellow who used to work for us a couple of years ago.
Yes, I'm actually, he's one of my best catchers, young Leon. He used to work for you, and he used to come to us and try and sell us advertising. Yeah. And I kept on refusing, and but he persisted and persisted and persisted, and he finally got us on board. Yeah. And I said to him one day, I think you should come and work for me. And he wouldn't do it. And then I had a bit of a chat to your dad about him. And ultimately, Leon came to work for us, and he's actually a young fellow with a young family, and he's doing exceptionally well.
What do you think that is? I mean, because obviously a lot of people look at like the old style Caravan salesperson, and you got this young fella, and let's face it, he had his long hair. Have you managed to get him to cut his hair yet?
No. Or have a shave or anything, but that's all right.
But he's still selling caravans. That's the main thing.
He can still sell caravans. He's also, we actually buy run lunch on Saturdays and other days. It's just one of the things we do. And on Leon's first day, we bought fish and chips for everybody. So I brought the fish and chips back, and here we go, Leon, here's your lunch. Oh, Robert, I'm a vegan.
he's the modern era, mate. They're all vegans now. So.
We had to send him off to go and get his own vegan stuff, and we've since modified our ways. But he's very customer focused and very inquisitive, and wants to know the answers. And if a customer has a question, he goes and finds the right answer. Yeah. And we've actually had people that have said, we bought caravans in the past from caravan shows, and we've bought caravans from caravan yards, and the salespeople have told us what they want to hear, what we want to hear. And Leon's actually told us the truth. Yeah. And we found it a very pleasant experience. If I could find more Leons, I'd be very, very happy.
Well, that's where I think getting some of that younger blood into the industry can be really important. I think that he's coming with a fresh set of eyes. He's got a little bit of a marketing background, certainly from a social perspective and all the rest. So I know he's really enjoying himself out there, and it's great to see more young people coming into the industry. Just before I jump onto Tilly, I just wanted to ask how, Stephen, do you find that you work in conjunction a little bit with some of the dealerships and manufacturers in regards, because obviously you've got cabins, but you've a lot of your parks have also got obviously powered sites and those kinds of things. You find there's a synergy there?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have a formal partnership with New Age. And so New Age members get benefits through Big Four, and Big Four members get benefits through New Age. So it works quite well in the context of, whilst cabins provide most of the revenue, and now still half the bookings in parks are through caravans. And so they're a very important part of our business. And certainly we love to work with the manufacturers. It's important for us and our parks to know what's happening, even with park design, park planning. I mean, who would have thought we'd have, fifth wheelers a few years ago, things like that, the changing of types of vans, the new camper trailers, everything's changing all the time. And parks that are built 30 years ago haven't been built for the new type of van. So again, we have to. Sorry, and also more and more with the context around, self-contained. Like in the past, there were no bathroom shower facilities in a caravan. Well, I think over half of them have that these days, and not even have solar. So the needs of the park and the needs of the caravan user are changing. And so we need to keep abreast of what's going on, so we meet the needs of the consumer. One thing I thought, Warren, might be worth noting, I think last numbers I saw, but across Australia, our industry, both manufacturing and holiday parks, is worth close to $20 billion a year.
Yeah.
So that puts in context the size and scale of the industry. And, we are working actively, all of us, through our own state association, national association, through our own networks, to grow and promote. And one of the challenges, I think, for us here is the opportunity for our teams is to keep promoting our industry to government and promoting our industry to all sorts of people who might not have had experience before. And from an employment viewpoint, that's really exciting, because again, it opens up a growing and dynamic and really interesting industry.
Yeah. So, Tilly, you're in the manufacturing game, mate, and you're probably one of the youngest general managers within the industry. It's part of the reason why I wanted to invite you on today. Tell us a little bit about, because I know there's a few family connections there, but tell us a little bit about how you started off in your career and how you ended up working as general manager of Retreat Caravans.
The caravan industry was never, ever in my sights at all. I started working at the ripe old age of 14 and 9 months as a checkout chick at Safeway. And then through school and through VCE as well as TAFE, I worked there. But then, I wasn't ambitious to become a lawyer or anything like that. But, something as exciting, I used to be the person who used to annoy all you guys whilst we're having your dinner and knock on your door and try to sell your foxtel. So that was my first real job, you know. So interrupting people through some pretty much family times and trying to get them to get on board with Foxtel at that time was a big boom. That was pretty good. Obviously, I was there for about 10 years all up, from either knocking on doors or managing teams or working in head office in the training department. But then I obviously got married and started having kids, and things started to get a little bit too full on, and coming home at 11 o'clock at night wasn't going to cut it. So I needed to change, I guess, careers. Now, I mentioned obviously family connections at Retreat Caravan, and similar to like a football or a soccer scenario, when the boss brings you to the new facility that they're just about to open up in Campbellfield, and you see this massive factory and office space, you're kind of like, you know, at awe with, wow, this is massive. This has got massive possibilities. I was actually just taken back and said, this is something that can actually grow. So I started working at Retreat in 2010. So I've been there nearly 11 years now. And just like everyone, you always get the great old job as the warranty department. So, you know, I think, to be honest with you, I was actually very happy to get into the warranty department, because there's no way to learn the trade than to find out what everyone's saying. So listening to our customers, listening to our dealers, you know, it definitely helps my knowledge on how to not only make a caravan, but what can potentially go wrong and how to ratify it before it happens. So after spending some time in the warranty department, you know, I moved into the planning department, also did some sales at the caravan shows, and sort of got to see a different avenue of the caravan industry and how big it really is, because, you know, I know we're all in bubbles at the moment, but I was within my own Retreat bubble. And when I go to the caravan and see other people and listen to other stories, and, you know, meet people like yourself at, you know, the Albury pub, and tell me exactly how good, you know, What's Up Down Under is, a cheeky little plug for you. So it was really exciting getting to meet like-minded people. From there, obviously, getting into more of the senior management at Retreat, I was open to all of the caravan industry meetings. So it's something that our industry does very, very well. Not only Rob and Daniel and the whole team, they actually get, whenever there's something as far as an issue goes or some training that's needed, the industry puts all of their resources together and invites everybody to their facility up in Footscray. Everyone gets there, you know, offers opinions, learns different things, and then from there we obviously go up and do follow-ups. So learning about our industry when you're not, I guess, exposed to everyone's businesses is a really good way to, I guess, share experiences. Mate, from there, I ended up being Shaz being my boss, of course. He's the executive assistant because he was way too busy. And I thought, okay, well, I can sort of manage his role a little. We did that for a very, very long time, actually. And then he started to get more work on himself by introducing a new platform to the caravan industry. And it got to the point where he couldn't sort of manage everything. And that's where he sort of helped me out. So he asked me to help him out and be his general manager. Now, you know, I know it's, you know, for some people, titles are everything. For me, a title is not much at all. But, you know, people ask me at Retreat, what do you do? And part of the punt, but I'm kind of like the silicon that sort of, you know, holds things together at Retreat where we need, for example, a little bit of help here and there. You know, they just squirt me, or actually, that sounds bad. They put me into the areas that I guess is required. And that's what I'm about. I'm just about helping people develop and seeing the smiles on people's faces at work.
But I guess you've had the opportunity to grow into everything, haven't you? It's not just about being general manager. There's marketing. You're on top of a lot of the sales side of things. You're obviously in touch with a lot of the building of the caravans and the design and that kind of stuff. I know there's a lot of other players in that business. But the diversity of your role now is quite large. It's no longer a cottage industry. You've now got this really diverse business.
Absolutely, you know, and the good thing is that we at Retreat Caravans, like other manufacturers as well, we've got a great support network underneath us. So although, yes, I've got my finger in the marketing or the sales pie or in the construction, we've got, I guess, sensational managers in all of those departments. And, you know, we're linked up with third-party marketing companies as well that help us along the way, because, you know, it's good to have the ideas, but to have the know-how to put it together, I guess that's, a niche market in itself. The other thing about our industry as well is not only do you sort of go to work every single day and just sort of see what you produce, you get to actually experience your product in real life. So I've been lucky enough, and I think you came along on one of our trips as well, to not only build caravans for people, but to actually caravan with people. So we, as well as other manufacturers, we hold annual rallies, which COVID put a dent in our South Australian one this year. But yeah, when we get to see 100+ retreat caravans all congregate in one location and be there for a week like a festival, so to speak, it's almost like a little country caravan show, and everyone's got a retreat caravan. It's just seeing the smiles on people's faces and doing the auctions and raising money, because all these rallies that we do is not only just for fun, but we raise money for really important charities like the Council and things like that. So seeing the end product in people's lives, it just takes it to a new level.
So I might just touch on the caravan show stuff with both you, Tilly, and you, Rob, in regards to, in fact, all of you guys, I guess, have stands at shows. But just in regards to, obviously, Jayco usually has some pretty big stands at caravan shows. How many do you have to bring in additional staff to help manage those, Rob?
Yep, we have to find additional staff. We fly them in from other dealerships, and there's also some casual Jayco staff that have generally been with the industry for a long time and have semi-retired, and we bring them in to assist.
Yeah. And how about you, Tilly? Do you guys have like a show crew or a team that help out? How does it work?
So each dealership has their staff that they have on hand at the yard all the time. But then we also have our national sales manager, which is Steve Borg, and he's got a team of sales reps that are, I guess, all over the country, and they flock towards that caravan show at that specific time in normal times.
Yeah. So, Stephen, obviously you have stands at the shows as well. You've got the Big Four stand. You have to bring in additional staff and have people.
We're a member cooperative, and this is one of the areas where we all cooperate together. So what tends to happen is we'll have one or two of our staff from our National Support Office who will go to the show and coordinate it, but we then call upon the parks in those regions to help man the stands. So that means you've got actually people on the stands who are the owners and the managers of the parks talking to people about the park experience, which is great.
And Lisa, I've noticed the stands that some of the stands that Thetford have had in the past are quite the operation. How have you found the couple of shows you've been to? Do you need additional help there as well? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I have. So yeah, normally we kind of, again, the sales team will pitch in the warehouse guys as well with the, heavy lifting and things. I know my predecessor was pretty hands-on with all that. So, but yeah, there is times I'm assuming that we're going to need some additional staff for the shows, definitely, especially if we want to make them bigger and better. So
yeah. And Dan, you obviously run a few shows. You've got 4 of the biggest shows in Australia that you run out of Victoria. How do you guys go? Because I mean, the event staff is quite a big job, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite large. And just listening to the guys talk about how the shows increase their workforce, but also the diversity in their workforce is quite interesting. But I guess how you can look at it, it really touches into event management and events. So a part of the promotion marketing, we sort of shift across and probably touches on what we talked about earlier, where there's so many opportunities. And, we, from our point of view in running the shows, and as you said, we run the 4 probably largest in Victoria, particularly our big one, the Super Show, as we run the Victorian Caravan and Camping and Touring Super Show. That one in particular, we get, we get another 30, 35 odd casuals that we have at the show on top of our staff. So pretty much every single one of our staff, which is was sitting on about 13. Our staff, we get another 3 or 4 key contractors that have been doing shows with us and do every show with us. And then we also get volunteers. And I think this year we had about 72, 73 volunteers at the show. So we go from a team of 13 to a team of probably 100, 110 to 120 just for the show alone, which is sort of a 3-week operation when we're on site, because you've got logistics in and out and transportation, but also in the lead up. That Super Show in particular is a 12-month operation. So from when we finish it, we're reviewing it and then moving forward to the next year as well. So they're a big job in themselves. And, you look at, and Stephen talked about, the Grand Prix, that's how we look at the Super Show. It's a big event that you've got to manage logistically and have the right resources. And, we work with the likes of yourselves and the media outlets. So there's just a lot to manage that you diversify and move in on top of everything else that goes on with industry, as Tilly was talking about. There's everything going on at the moment and what we've been dealing with COVID and trying to understand from government what's going on and what the rules of restrictions are, and then training that we also do. So yeah, it becomes quite diverse, and the events are a major part of what we do. And I think we've We started in 1954 with the Super Show and been going continuously since then. So, and we've sort of expanded, and yeah, the shows have become an area where it's an opportunity for people to see the products in themselves, all in the one place, all at the one time. And you know, probably in the 90s where they sort of started to take off, and it was really about looking, and then they go to the dealers and purchase. You know, probably from the mid 2000s to probably the to mid 2015, and so they really become you buy at the show. Now it's sort of starting to drift back where they're coming back to dealers as well. So there's a major play at part and promotes our industry. You know, it's not just about the caravans and RVs as we sort of describe it. 50% of the people come for the parts and accessories, keeping up to date with what's new and what the gadgets is. And you know, then we also get, you know, sort of 20% are looking for tourism, and as we've sort of tried to change the terminology around travel destinations for people and where they want to go, and that's where the likes of Big Four play a major part in that area as well.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, guys, we're running a little low on time, so I'm just going to do another quick whip around for all of you. Stephen, I'm really keen to know what you see as the future of the caravan or the holiday park industry and the careers within it. What do you see is on the horizon, mate?
Well, I think there's two things. I think there's operationally on the ground, we are very fortunate to probably be the #1 industry to recover from COVID. And with international flights closed and even now borders and cruises not happening, we have seen massive spike in sales in the last little while. And so from on the ground park perspective, there's going to be significant opportunities for standard workforces to grow, given the volume of people coming through. But at the same time, I think, as you were saying at the outset, you know, we're joking about data scientists, but I think more and more we're getting much more sophisticated in our distribution systems and sales systems and marketing systems, that the opportunity for a whole new breed of people who may not have thought of our sector before can join us and make great contributions. But also, one of the other things our industry is well known for is innovation. And so there will always be people out there who have great ideas, entrepreneurs thinking about how to, you know, what's next for holiday parks. So to me, the opportunities is endless to work in a great industry where you get to see large parts of Australia. It's fantastic.
Yeah. What about the manufacturing industry, Tilly? What's the future hold, mate?
Just to touch on what was just said, I think innovation is probably the biggest thing in the manufacturing space. So not only from our suppliers offering us manufacturers new products that are going to help us innovate, but from our R&D departments thinking outside the box and thinking how what was deemed a caravan back in the day is now looked upon. So things like free camping, having, you know, ample solar panels on your roof and being able to free camp without any limitation, coming to camp a certain way. But the way the caravans are being made, so the traditional stick and tin is something that is slowly leaving the industry, and composite materials adding the extra insulation, whether you're at a caravan park or not, helps out the customer's experience as well.
Does that mean with things like that you're going to need more specialists in certain areas to be able to do certain things?
Yeah, absolutely was. I mean, the way I see things is people come to work into the caravan industry, they're not just working in the caravan industry because they can take those skills off from the caravan industry and go and do something else outside of the industry, vice versa. So people that are specialists in their field can now come into the caravan industry. Like we said before, it's a booming industry and one of the quickest to recover from COVID. So it's definitely an industry for people to keep an eye out for, especially the young people who are going through their year 12 and they don't know where to go because jobs are, you know, pretty scarce. The manufacturing industry is something that, you know, I don't think in the future will ever stop.
Well, I think at the moment, I know, so I've had a lot of manufacturers tell me that they're finding it harder to get workers and get good workers. So I think that's going to be a challenge for people moving forward. How's the from a dealership perspective, Rob? How is that going to evolve, the dealership and servicing perspective into the future?
It's only going to expand, but as we've already sort of touched on, this current pandemic's going to we're going to just the caravan industry is going to blossom. Harking back to my car days, we used to get people knocking on our doors asking to, you know, looking for jobs as a mechanic or a salesperson, or in the caravan industry, it's rare. We need to somehow promote that to people. There's plenty of jobs out there for good salespeople, for good administration people.
Do you think the experience at your dealership is going to change a little too, the way that you present the product and the way you sell the product?
Yeah, I think it's going to move, but there's still an inherent desire, I think, to touch and feel and see.
Yeah.
It's a big investment.
But
But there's opportunities that for young people that might think they want to become a motor mechanic, and they should really consider the caravan industry, because it's basically it's a hand built product that just is really interesting to work with.
Yeah. There's a lot of design and stuff that goes into those things too, which would be really cool.
Yes,
I think Warren, we're also seeing, people now buying 10 or 20 caravans that never use them themselves, but they become using Camplify and things like, the Airbnbs of caravans. So in the past, people would buy one for themselves. They're now able to rent and hire. And we're seeing, I know quite a few people that have got multi-numbers of caravans for that exact purpose. So we're bringing a whole new breed of people as well into the industry that way.
And a lot of people sort of try before they buy too, I guess, in that side of it, which is a good thing. It helps bring that new blood in. So before they make a big purchase, they get to go and look and find out what they want, what they like about a van, or that kind of thing as well. So from a supply perspective, Lisa, what's the future? I noticed you guys have got some pretty cool products coming out in the next 12 months. Who would have thought that you could revolutionise toilets in a caravan? Huh? So, but do you see that as a role sort of diversifying as an industry, as a supplier?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's actually quite exciting. I mean, I agree we're going to be the industry to recover after all this. So I think the big focus for us as a supplier will be on obviously innovation products, more products, because watch this space, we're going to have a whole lot of more people out there wanting to caravan and camp because, they're not probably going to be comfortable flying and getting on a cruise ship. So I think it's a good industry to be in right now.
So I think that's really good. Dan, just to sort of wrap it up, just before we go, is there anything you'd like to add, mate, about the future of the industry?
Yeah, I think if you listen to an individual as described, I think probably in a short to medium term, the traditional roles that have been there there's going to be more of them. We're going to grow, and there's a great opportunity, as sort of Lisa just touched on there, where everyone's going to start to experience it. But I think what's important, and probably the message we want to get out, Warren, and particularly while we've got all these guys here, is to promote to people that with what you do with these products, there's actually a career pathway and opportunity, and you can make this what you want it to be. So you could start out, sleeping with your boss, as he put it, with his being his cousin, but you can turn it into anything you actually want it to be, and you can turn into,
There's nothing wrong with that, by the way, Daniel. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
No, we know that, and you and I get the joys down of living in the same suburb where we get to see each other at the supermarket, so it's joyful with that as well. But I think if you've got a passion for the product and what you do with the products, this is the industry and where you want to work. And I think that's probably something that I've got from the working with the people in industry, is everyone's passionate, everyone's enthusiastic, and everyone loves what they do. So it really relates to what we do with our products in this industry, is really what this industry and the jobs actually entail. And probably one of the things that's struggled to be known is that there's an industry behind the products, and that's what we're trying to really do. And obviously working with yourself, Warren, to get the promotion of caravan industry jobs out there. We're setting up a caravan, our National Caravan Industry Training College, where we're going to start to train younger people in the industry in each of the sectors to have a workforce that those sectors can actually start to take.
That'll actually eventually stretch across all sectors of the industry.
I think, Warren, it has to. There's no ifs or buts. We have to. As Robert Bury just said before, it's so hard. People don't just walk in the door looking for a job in the caravan industry. They know someone, or they've seen it, or they might be talking to someone at a show or in a caravan park or on their journeys, and that's how they sort of come across the industry. How I used to describe it was, the plumbers used to try to do the high rise, and they get over it and they go on, I'll stumble across to someone I know in the caravan. Electricians the same. But once you get into this industry, you don't leave, because it's so passionate, enthusiastic, and everyone's just so great to work with.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us today and being part of it. Was there any last comments from anyone? Anyone want to say anything before we log off?
I was
when
just
was
going to
St
say,
Kilda's last premiership, was I? I think Daniel hit it with, was it 1954 when the industry started at the same time?
I don't know. I don't even know what was then.
If you're a data scientist and you're watching this, you should totally get on the Big Four and put your application in for the data scientist.
yeah, in all seriousness, it's a great industry. And what's exciting is it's moving from where it was to something that's really an incredible, fun, innovative, and growth industry. And there's not many businesses like that around at the moment. And this is one where we'll just continue to get stronger and stronger.
Yeah, well, let's face it, COVID has not been a pleasant experience for any of us, but funnily enough, through adversity becomes opportunity too. And I think that is an industry that's going to boom, and anyone watching this should totally think about what a career in the caravan industry might look for them in the future. So thank you guys for joining us today. If you want to find out more, you can obviously visit the Caravan Industry Victoria's website. And obviously, if you want to see careers at Big Four or Retreat Caravans or Bayswater, Jayco or Thetford, I'm sure these guys have job ads and things posted on their websites. If you want to find out more, jump onto their Facebook pages. Have a great day, everybody. caravanindustryjobs.com.au. Keep watching What's Up Down Under, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Hey, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for that. I totally appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the experience. I really appreciate all your feedback and your insight, and that was really good fun to do. And I can't believe we just sort of bashed it out, and it was great. I think there was some really good stuff.